It's 8:05. Good morning. It's Wednesday, September 11th. I just want to make sure I get this recording. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. I'm Claire Kilgallen. I'm acting as chair of the Central Middle School Building Committee. This is a regular meeting beginning at 8:05 a.m. The chairman is absent. I'm going to ask for a moment of silence in lieu of the Pledge of Allegiance in remembrance of 9/11/2001, the lives that were lost and the lives that continue to be lost as a result. So just one moment. Thank you. We have a quorum present. Christina, would you call the roll?
Sure. Joe is absent, as you just said. Claire?
Kilgallen present.
Christina's present.
Remote, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Right. Yes, virtual. Christina's virtual as well. Todd Claire? I just sent him a message, so if he gets on. Tony Turner's absent. Josh Caspy?
Present, remote.
Thank you. I'm sure you'll state this later, but Jan is no longer
Yeah, I'll do that right after the attendance.
And then Harry Fisher?
Present, remote.
And Laura Costin?
Here remotely, thank you.
Thank you. So that's 5 voting members present. Lauren Rabin, I believe, is absent.
Correct.
Michael Kislick?
I believe he said he had to be absent also.
Okay. Dan Watson?
Remote.
Thank you. Dennis Yeski? Steph Cowie?
Remote.
Warren Silver? Rachel Coven? Susan Rudolph? And that's back to you.
Okay, and just for the record, this is a 100% virtual meeting, and this recording will be made available under FOIA afterwards. Okay. So to start housekeeping, we need to take a motion to add these 2 items to the agenda. They were in our packet from CSG on Friday. One is an invoice 22019-021 dated August 2nd, 2024 for the amount of $18,853, and invoice number 22019-022 dated September 4, 2024 for the amount of $18,500.25. And then the second item we'd like added is to authorize the building committee to the committee to approve and the chair or vice chair to sign the contract supplement number 4 for CSG services for the amount of $39,438.33. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. This being an item that is being added to the agenda needs a 2/3 vote. Do we have any objection to adding these items to the agenda, or can we do this by unanimous consent? Any objections? Any objections? Okay, so we will consider that that's accepted by the committee by unanimous consent. Okay, moving on, we need to reorder the agenda due to the quorum, the attendance that we have today. And so here's how we propose reordering the items. The contracts update will become number 3. The invoices will become number 6. The project team update will be, contracts update number 3, invoices number 4, project team update number 5, and then the committee working groups will be the last item before new business. Are there any objections to the reordering of the agenda? Okay. One announcement, Jan Rogers-Niffin resigned from the building committee as of Friday, September 6th. He had to leave for personal reasons. He thanked everybody. He appreciated working on the committee. And we have notified Lauren Rabin is aware, and so the selectman's office has to initiate the process to give us a 9th member. So currently our total count is 8 and our quorum is the same, it's 5. Okay, so the approval of minutes will be deferred to the next meeting. We have the contracts update. For these items, we're going to defer the owner's rep contract amendments and take up, if there's no objection, take up the bid package number 6, the discussion of the diesel versus the natural gas alternate. I'll turn it over to Peter Rader to lead the discussion.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Claire. I guess the first item here is the SLAM ad service ASP number 6, which you all should have received in your packet. John, if I could ask if you could bring that up on screen so we can just briefly walk through our recommendation for approval and look to execute that. As John's bringing that up on screen, I'll let the committee know. We've had to appreciate the response back from SLAM as they've addressed our concerns and questions around the allocations of hours and come back with a number of revisions to respond to those. And with what we have today, we're prepared to make our recommendation for approval. So John, if you bring that up, we'll share it with the group, please. Great.
Yep.
Okay. So this is for additional meetings in addition to what was originally submitted in the base contract. SLAM's was entitled to an ad service for the additional meetings, as well as additional work related to their early release package, the phase 1 early mechanical package, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And then the last item there, a $6,000 allowance, mostly surrounding printing and some other items related to phase 1 submission to the state. So again, I think the majority of the negotiation was around the hourly allowance in the first bucket for the hour projection. If we pan down to the second page, you can see a lot of, keep going down. I want to take a look, show the committee the hourly projections. Here you can see actuals going back to January through July, and then just, a few months here towards the tail end of the year, projecting forward for those additional meetings. So our recommendation is for approval, and I guess, Claire, I'll turn it over to you to entertain any motions.
Okay, so do we have a motion to add service proposal number 6 as presented?
So moved.
Cowie moved.
Second. Fisher can.
Fisher second. Okay, thank you. Can we vote this by unanimous consent? Any objection? Can we take down the document, please? Any objection to voting on this by unanimous consent? Going once. Any objection? Going twice? Okay, by unanimous consent. I think is Todd in yet? No. Okay, so that's unanimous consent. 6.
Great.
0.
Thank you.
And then the next, we are deferring on the owner's rep contract amendments. The next item is Roman numeral 3, bid package 6, generator diesel versus natural gas.
Great. Thanks again. So for the committee's benefit, I know, as you may all recall, we've been pricing or considering this as an alternate to the base bid package. SLAM's been done some work in the past related to code compliance issues. It really basically is coming down to the local jurisdiction having authority and an ability to approve this for this use. We've reached out to both the fire marshal and the building official and have heard back from both that they will support this as the local authorities having jurisdiction. So relative to the code compliance question, we can use gas. There is an uptick in the pricing for this We are wanting to present this and get a direction from the committee this morning because this item is included in one of our early release packages. And so as bid package number 6, this is the last sort of phase 1 package that we're looking to move forward with. The additional costs for the gas gas generator are approximately $73,000. And so, again, we're looking for some direction and open it up for discussion and answer any questions you might have.
Just as background, we looked at this back in February, and the way we had left it was that the diesel was in budget, or was the lower of the two costs, and we had carried the natural gas as an alternate. So our base bid includes diesel. It does not include natural gas. Can
Correct.
we take down the agenda? We don't need it on the screen. Everybody has the agenda. Thank you.
What's the base cost of the diesel generator?
Jose, do you remember what the bid was?
John, you pull it up. It was 140, or Tim, can you correct me if I'm wrong? 149,000, I think was the base bid.
So it's a 50% difference.
Correct.
Yeah. A fair amount of this, Tim, correct us wrong. There's some additional piping upsize for the service coming off of the street. So it's not just kind of, swapping out for this and we already have gas. There's some additional steps that have to happen. We did connect with the school district to talk about operations. I know there are some others, I believe 1 or 2, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. I know Jose connected with you, but there is, I think, 1 or 2 other schools, right, that utilize gas, but the balance use diesel. So from an operational standpoint, I don't believe that there's necessarily a preference. It's really just about whether this committee feels the $73,000 uptick is, worth converting to gas.
Can I jump in?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this was discussed pretty heavily early on, and the preference would be for natural gas for a number of reasons. Now, we'll stand by whatever the committee decides on, but to say that it's preferred to go diesel is not correct. We have spent thousands of dollars getting rid of underground storage tanks. I'm not sure if we put in a diesel generator, if it's a saddle tank, if it's an above ground tank, if it's a buried tank. I'm sorry, I don't have that information with me. That was one of our biggest concerns. We spent money on removing the tanks and remediating soils associated with leaky tanks. And that's our biggest concern. The other concern is the availability of diesel in a emergency situation. If it's a true emergency, God forbid, zombie apocalypse or whatever, we are at the mercy of how long the day tank lasts and how long it'll be before we get another delivery. So that was our issue. If the committee decides to go diesel, we will back that up 100%. But as far as preference, we would have preferred natural gas.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, if I could just chime in, or Peter, it's Josh.
Yep.
I've had this discussion for decades, and whenever possible, in New York City you can't, for whatever reason, they're super anti-natural gas, but out in the suburbs, whenever you can, if they'll give you natural gas and the fire marshal is going to back that up, it's cleaner, it's more efficient, it's reliable and cost effective on a long-term basis for the use. Not that you're going to use it so much, but my vote is 100% for natural gas. That's it.
Okay, great.
I was just going to add a thought. So I know we were inclined towards it. Joe did express his thoughts. He would love to have natural gas, but we are stewards of the money, and for him, the cost, I don't want to speak for him, but that's what he expressed to me. And I think I'm in the same place. I'd love to have natural gas. I don't know how we afford the cost or how we get there. I'm not hearing anybody saying there's a way to get there. So.
And Steph, you had your hand up.
Yes, so what would this do? Where would this come out of? So that's my thought. What is our contingency remainder if we were to do this and move forward? I'm for natural gas. I think it is a cleaner way to go about it and more efficient. So how could we do this, Peter? Where would that put us?
It would come out of owner contingency. John, if you could pull up the dashboard quickly, we'll take a look. We can take a look for the committee's benefit of, where we are with our balance and contingency to date. We've been remaining owners contingency 3 million. Sorry, could you zoom in a bit? 3 million, nearly just under $4 million in owner contingency remaining.
Sorry, just want to note for the record that Todd has joined for Christina's purposes. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
So that
Great.
Just to add to that, in the scheme of things, it's truly a rounding error. You find the savings somewhere else. This is one of those buys that you're thinking, for the next 100 years for this
Right.
building,
right.
and you can't be penny wise dollar foolish. You got to pick up savings somewhere else in the GMP. Get creative on the adults, and you pick up something that's very important long-term from a cleanup standpoint, liability standpoint, maintenance standpoint,
Right.
efficiency, et cetera. So that's my 2 cents there.
Christina?
What is the dollar difference again? Can you just state for the record what the dollar difference is?
It's roughly a $73,000 premium to go to gas, Lauren.
So my thought is to actually natural gas, and I do understand that $73,000 that we have to come up with. I think it's worth it to go into owner contingency. My vote would be go to natural gas. You'll see the savings alone if there is even so much as one drop of diesel that goes into that soil.
Yeah.
That period is a nightmare. It will disrupt all of the kids. It's completely a risk that we don't need to take. I think in the grand scheme of things with this entire project, $73,000 is a small drop in the bucket when an oil drop is a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm hearing in the discussion, I'm just mindful of the time. If people want to have natural gas, what needs to happen is someone needs to make a motion to accept the alternate of the natural gas generator in lieu of the diesel that was in the base design. Do we have
Fisher,
that?
so moved.
Fisher. Second,
Second, yep.
Todd. Okay. Moved by Fisher, seconded by Todd Clare. Let's do a roll call on this since it was a value management item.
We have Claire,
Sure. Kilgallen, yes.
Christina's a yes. Todd,
Todd's a yes.
Josh Caspi,
Yes.
Harry Fisher,
Fisher, yes.
and Laura Costin.
Yes.
So you have 6-0-0.
Okay, that's unanimous. The motion passes. Okay, that brings us to that finishes the contracts update. We're now on what was item 6, now item 4, invoices and possible vote for approval. We have, I wonder if somebody could answer this for me, Sam or Jim, can we make a motion to move all of these together, all the invoices as one, or do we have to do them separately by vendor?
No, you could do them all together. We do them all together on other projects.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to do a lot of reading and then we'll move it along. So I'm just going to read from the agenda. So Shipman Goodwin invoice, and these were all reviewed. We'll have Peter Reeder confirm that all these invoices were reviewed and approved, and the CSG invoice was reviewed by Joe. Okay, Shipman Goodwin invoice dated 8/28/2004, invoice 650043 in the amount of $3,174. Then JLL invoices dated August 13th, 2024, invoice USPDS 13607 in the amount of $18,576. That's directly from the May agreement for the wrap up. Another invoice, same date, USPS DS 136806 in the amount of $18,576 for June. And then invoice dated 8/13 USPDS 136805, $37,151. Then SLAM invoice dated August 15th, invoice 1031616 in the amount of $107,392.81. And then invoice CSG invoices 22019-021 dated August 2nd, $18,853.50, and invoice 22019-022 dated September 4th, 2024 in the amount of $18,500.25. Do I have a motion to approve those as enumerated in the agenda?
So moved. So moved.
Howie motions. And well, in the interest of time, I will second. Kilgallen seconds. Jim, do you have a question?
No question. You can take the vote. I just had a recommendation if you wanted after you take the vote.
Okay. Okay, so we will do this by unanimous consent. Unless there's an objection, we'll take it by unanimous consent. Any objection to approving these invoices by unanimous consent? Going once, going twice. Okay, approved by unanimous consent. Okay, then we have in this also added to the agenda in that same section, authorizing the committee to approve and the appointed officers to assign contract supplement 4 for CSG services for the amount of $39,438.33. In the interest of time, I will move that. Kilgallen, is there a second?
Second.
Fisher, second.
Fisher? Okay, Fisher, second. Is there any objection to approving this by unanimous consent? Any objection? Okay, hearing none, approved by unanimous consent. Okay, invoices are done. Jim, what did you want to add?
In the future, if you want to expedite the approval process for invoices, you may want to do a consent agenda for the invoices. We do that quite a bit on our other projects. It just expedites the approval process. You put them on a consent agenda.
Okay, great idea. Thank you. And we'll talk offline on invoices going forward, but just so all the professionals understand, we lock down our agenda the Wednesday before the meeting. So getting stuff later, it's a little bit cumbersome to do all that. So next we are on item 5, which is the project team update. We're starting with CSG to update on the DAS update phase 2 and the gap mounted reimbursement eligibility.
I'm sorry, Claire, can I just, so you moved to authorize the supplement 4 for CSG. Did you get a vote on that? Did I miswrite that?
Sorry. We did, that was by unanimous consent.
Thank you.
And then Claire, just for the sake of time, I know part of the other voting for the natural gas part, we had to approve the approval letters of the bid packages. So I know if people have to drop, that was supposed to be part of that as well.
That's not, okay. Can we do that? Can we do that in the JLL update?
Yes.
Thank you.
Will you have
Okay,
enough
so
voting members at
CSG.
that time?
Sorry?
Will you have enough voting members at that time?
Well, yes, we will. It's
Okay.
Harry's, we have enough, yes.
Okay.
But we should keep the pace going because we don't want to get hit 9 o'clock and have a quorum issue. So CSG, DAS and OFCG are update on phase 2.
We've had numerous conversations with DAS to try and push the approval process and get our approval. SLAM has provided a lot of additional information that has been requested by DAS in their review of this project, something that's a little bit out of the ordinary for us. We are dealing with a new reviewer. This process has taken a much longer duration than what we're normally used to, especially for a project of this size. We've been in constant contact with DAS, fielding phone calls and emails. Samantha has been emailing almost on a daily basis to the reviewer, asking for updates. We did get a response yesterday and a confirmation of information that was forwarded over to DAS. We're awaiting their response. We did get one approval on a sole source letter. They're still reviewing the sole source items, and I believe that's all we're going to need from them. In terms of their approval is the completion of the review of the sole source requests. We don't know when that's going to happen. We're asking, but we're not getting a timeline. That's typical of OGA, but we're hoping that we're going to get something by the end of this week.
Claire, I apologize. I gotta run. I just wanted to interrupt.
Thank you for letting us know, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We still have quorum, just for the record.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions about that update? My understanding, Jim, is it accurate that these sole sources we've gotten on prior Greenwich projects, it just seems strange to me that you're getting pushback on something that's been accepted in prior projects.
I'm not sure. I can't say for certain if those sole source requirements have been approved on other projects. I assume that they have due to the request for the sole source. We have a new reviewer, so
yeah.
This process, I think she's and rightfully so to a certain degree, dotting her I's and crossing her T's. And requesting a lot of additional information and revisions of information that have been provided. So again, SLAM has been working tirelessly to get that information because most of it falls on their shoulders. We're communicating with them basically on a daily basis. I know Sam sends quite a few emails over there trying to get an update as to where they stand. As of, I think it was last week, we sent them the last of the information that they requested. We did get confirmation that they have it all. So we're awaiting their final review and response.
Okay. I guess we'll talk about the schedule when we get to JLL's update. Is there anything else to add to that? Any questions on it? Okay, then the next item, Gap Mountain, the reimbursement eligibility.
Yeah, I've not come across a situation like this. I don't know if it's going to be eligible. I would assume, well, there's one tack that that the state OGA can look at on this is that, the result of the current situation of the building could be because of lack of maintenance and repair. So if they look at it from that perspective, they can say, well, we're not going to pay for that because you didn't maintain the building properly and you let it deteriorate to the point where you have to do this extra engineering. I don't
Okay.
know if that's going to be their review on this. I've seen stuff like that happen before, so it would have to be, we'd have to let it play out.
Okay,
But, I mean, I think, and I don't know the cost on it. I think, Thornton Tomasetti was like around $7,500, so it's not huge,
Yeah.
but
okay.
Yeah.
I think for purposes of optimizing the potential for it being reimbursed, the question we need answered is, can we use the existing GPS contract that they have with Gap Mountain for these services or not? And if they don't, then maybe we should just assume that we need to do the paperwork and replicate that agreement literally verbatim with the
well,
statement
it's
of
with the
terms.
board. I mean, that agreement's with the Board of Ed right now, and it would be with the Board of Ed again. So
Right.
I
I'm
don't.
just wondering
Yeah.
if from an audit perspective, if it's cleaner to just have a separate contract, so when the audit happens, all the contracts are sitting there and they're 100% just for this project.
Well, if it's an amendment to the contract specifically for this project, I think that would be sufficient.
Okay. Okay, so we'll take up the discussion of the approval under JLL. So is anything else to add from CSG for today's meeting? Or for
No.
your items? Okay, so we'll move to JLL. Peter, scope, schedule, and budget updates.
Great. Don, please bring up the project dashboard to show the committee. I think we all looked a little bit on the balance on the project contingency. Short of this new roughly $73,000 exposure that we just talked about, we'll input that within here. You can see relative on the budget, we are tracking to what we had been presenting last week. And don't see any significant additional exposures. We are looking to close out just an exposure around the field repairs, and we're working with CSG to get and Sam to get those values. The scope, I think we mentioned we've got some bids on these early packages. Those are underway, and those approvals we will talk about in a moment here. The risk to the project right now is schedule risk, and you can kind of see that noted here. We're 5 weeks after what we had originally contemplated for our phase 2 approval. As you can see, it's something that the team's pushing hard on the state to try to move through. But it is an exposure that we don't have real clear insight into when we're going to expect that approval. What I can tell you is the team has worked and had a number of meetings to start talking about how to expedite the schedule, where there are opportunities to make up time. Everything was on the table. I know in talking with the team about the possibility of overtime for certain specific trades, CSG noted that would not be reimbursed from the state. So that's something we need to be mindful of. The discussion would be, though, how do we, obviously the start of school is the start of school. So this is where we need to make up this time delay, whether it's 5 weeks, 6 weeks, wherever we end up. We know we have to meet as a team, figure out solutions. So the no cost solutions, we can create some overlap in phasing. Everything is on the table with the committee, with the project team. Looking at alternates are things that we can consider along the way as we buy out and look at substitutions. But on the budget side, and perhaps if we run into some long lead issues, that would be our strategy. So right now, schedule is our exposure. Any questions on the project status or around schedule in particular?
I can't raise my hand, but I'll just say that the number one charge of this committee is to open this school on time. And through no one's fault, we have this situation with a delay in the state review and the approval. And I don't think anybody thinks that 23 months ahead of opening this school, that we should let a 5-week delay that we know about now change anything. So everybody needs to make it happen.
Understood.
And it's totally with the state. We've done everything and we're ready to react in case the state asks for XYZ is my question.
Yeah, I
We take
believe,
down the document.
yep. Todd, so yes, I think we heard, Jim noted, I think our design team's been very responsive to the additional asks and been quick to respond to their, to their additional requests. So yeah, I don't, short of, I think what they're doing, or if Jim, if you have any ideas on, how to perhaps escalate this within, if we're at that point within the state, or if that's really a bad tack to take.
Can I just ask the question? Can we anticipate if worst case scenario happens and they say no, these single source items, do we have the documents ready to say, this is what we're going to go with normal, stuff? Is that prepared and ready to go? Because we can't wait for we're waiting for their response and now we need to react. We should have that document ready if they reject single source.
Yeah, Claire, that's a good point, but quite honestly, I'm not sure, we've had a lot of discussion. We've had meetings with, Dan Watson was, at a meeting along with Brent where we reviewed all this sole source letters. One of the main sticking points was the hardware, because we wanted to, Greenwich requested that all hardware come from one single source. The state pushed back on that and did not let that happen. And as a result, the specifications had to change and SLAM had to do, had to scramble to change their hardware spec, which they did very quickly. And that's not an easy task. I don't anticipate any other rejections on the sole source items. They did, Steve brought up a very good point in the review process on this particular project, and that is, every time they bring up an issue, we respond to that issue, they bring up another issue. They continue moving the goalpost on us. And that is unusual in this type of situation. I've not had that happen before. Typically, when we get their concerns, we respond to their concerns, they review them, approve them, and we move on. Here, every time we've responded to a concern, they find another concern. I'm not sure if it's a new process that they're implementing, but it's not what has been, or it's not what CSG has experienced in the past. And quite honestly, it is somewhat unfair that they keep moving the goalposts.
And just to add to that, it's, the history we have with the state, these types of items that they're having, that they continue to say are issues or struggles with, have not been things that have held up an approval letter. If you've had a sole source item problem, it's getting resolved in the background while the approval letter is getting written. So this feels very ticky-tack to us as well, with just our experience with the state. To Jim's point, it is a new commissioner. And this is our first project under that new commissioner. Our last project was with the interim commissioner after Costa had been let go. So, to Jim's point, we think there's just a different emphasis on dotting I's and crossing T's that, is a little bit out of the norm. And they have moved the goalpost. You can track through just email correspondence. We identified 10 items ourselves in the conversation from the 8/8 meeting. Our team got together and started working on those immediately the next day. We didn't get the state response for 4 days after that. When that state response came, that turned into 22 items. I agreed as a team to get that stuff turned around by 8/16. We got through those 22 items by 8/15. In our mind, we're good, right? We got through the big stuff very quickly, faster than we thought we could. And then they moved the goalposts again and started just a string of other asks. So again, uncharacteristic, not what we expected.
And this is beyond just the sole source stuff, or no, this is strictly sole source request?
The initial stuff was a variety of things, Todd. And then once sole source came up, those things started getting addressed. And then they started looking at other things. There was questions about a handful of warranty language that went beyond maybe what the state would look for. So again, it was once you address the next thing, there was another next thing. And it was, again, we've just been chasing it and responding as quickly as we can. Again, through the email change, you can see our response time has been very efficient, been very quick turnaround throughout the entire team, whether it was us, whether it's Turner, whether it's our consultants, have been within 24 to 48 hours on almost every item that we've provided them. As far back as 9/6 at this point was the last time we gave them a consolidated specifications where we grabbed everything that they requested us to change, put it back under the signed and signature cover so they could just put their approval stamp on it. So that stuff at this point has been sitting with them since the 6th, where in our mind, again, we've done all of the last asks, consolidated it all together, and they've got what they need. Now it's just the process of whether it's rereading it or reading it again or feeling good about it up through the senior management level. Our reviewer is new. She is working with someone who's been at the state for a very long time. So I'm sure she's waiting on other people to say yes, not just herself.
Yeah. So if we pulled, I'm not saying we're doing it. If I pulled the sole source package, would that, in your opinion, get things?
Not at this stage, Todd. I don't think
Yeah,
any of the items are any longer in question. Like Jim mentioned, the door hardware was one of the ones they said, no, not going to do it, revise. Most of the other back and forth related to sole sourcing has been either language in the letter or language in our spec that didn't either align, or they couldn't find something, or they didn't like how we had something written, like it didn't feel as clear to them that it should be sole sourced, or that a bidder might not read it as sole sourced. I mean, it's, again, in our opinion, very small ticky-tack stuff that in past wouldn't have held up an approval letter.
I have to drop off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I had a previously scheduled appointment.
Thank you.
Nick is still here.
Thank you,
Claire,
Jim.
Yep.
Claire,
Sorry to
well,
break in. We have 14 minutes left. We have to get through the rest of this agenda because we will lose quorum by 9 o'clock. So we need to be done by 9.
Yeah, understood. I'd like to move up an item we do need an action for the quorum on is our approval of the our package submission for the phase 1. Jose, do we have that? Can you just kind of run the group through what we're looking for from the committee this morning?
Yep, John, you want to pull up that AL letter from Turner, which has the alternate natural gas in there?
Right. You guys went through it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
We did review this. And all it does is outline the low bid packages.
Yeah, no, I saw it and I don't,
Yeah.
and please bring it up for the rest of the folks. I mean, I looked through everything and, it's over by $40,000 and what
Right.
can we do about the 40,000 is, I guess, at the end of the day. I mean, things were very high and very low is very odd, but.
Okay, so what do you need? This is obviously was all in the packet. Do you need what motion do you need to move forward with this? Do we need to approve the phase 1 bidding package?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what we're
Okay.
looking for today.
Okay, so who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Well, we are
It's your
40,000,
second.
by the way, right?
We are 40,000 roughly over what was projected, within the estimate. So we'll see when we set the GMP where we are. But yes, you're right, and hopefully there will be some. We'll be coming under in some future trades, but there is a $41,000 exposure.
okay. So we have a motion by,
I'm sorry.
sorry, let me just get it on the floor properly. We have a motion by Christina Posha, seconded by Harry Fisher. Discussion. Tim?
I just wanted to make sure everybody, again, the 41,000 that's being quoted here does not include the generator alternate. So you have
Right.
to add those two together.
Right.
Yes, and we handled that separately. I thank you for pointing out that that's an additional piece. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the phase 1 bidding package. Obviously noting that the generator we've already addressed in a prior motion.
Right. just Tim, there's nothing we can do between you, Source Blue, or these trades to wipe it clean of $40,000.
No, sir, this is a public bid. There's no negotiation.
Right, and I know Joe had brought up, I mean, is this a surprise to you as far as the responses, even the numbers, or?
The surprises were the bid results that we got, right? As we talked about in the past, and the bid results that were received, the bid bonds ended up being a major problem with the vendors. One vendor on some of these, again, I think there was only one package that had a lower than Train, who Train again is your basic design, but there was one that was less than Train, but they did not have a bid bond and the bid was disqualified.
And Todd, we did talk with Eugene about moving forward with other packages, how we can preemptively, address that with bidders so that we don't see that at the bid opening and understand that they did not include those bonds when they were required. So we had a number that were, rejected because they didn't include that bond. So we talked about how we're going to shift in the future bid phases to make sure they do.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Can we take this by unanimous consent? Any objection to taking?
Just one more, Claire. So us approving this, does in some way, or is any of this sole source?
No, these packages were all open.
Okay,
It
so it
was
has nothing to
based
do
on-
with sole source
No,
approval.
these were all based on design and had named manufacturers, additional
Okay.
name.
I'm ready. Sorry, Claire.
No problem. Okay, any objection to approving this by unanimous consent? Going once, going twice. Okay, approved by unanimous consent, 5-0. The next, I think the other item we need a action on, we've talked about it before, is JLL item 3, which is gap mounted structural analysis. I'm going to make it super quick. We have a proposal. It's under the biddable threshold. It's about $10,000. Do we have the dollar amount? About $10,000. Gap mount.
9,700.
Sorry?
9,700.
9,700. So in the interest of time, because we have, I'm going to make, and because we have discussed this for quite some time, I want to make that clear. I'm going to make a motion that we approve Gap Mountain. Oh, sorry, Laura, did you want to make that motion?
I'm happy to make it if you tell me what you need me to say.
Okay, I'll word it if you want to move it. Do we have a motion to approve Gap Mountain for structural analysis of the current Central Middle School building in the amount of $9,700?
So moved.
Okay, Costin moves.
Fisher
Kilgallen,
second.
Fisher second. Okay. Any discussion? I think the only point I'll make is we're looking to get the work done in a timely manner and certainly before Thanksgiving so that everybody understands where things are as soon as possible, but no later than. Okay. Any objection to approving this by unanimous consent? Okay. By unanimous consent without objection, this passes 5-0. Okay. Planning and zoning update.
We did have a tracking document which was distributed. I'll know many of the items are closed. There's just a couple of open administrative items. The one thing that's open that we're working through with Turner is on the parking. So the offsite parking for which we're likely going to use the church, and it's really just negotiating a lease deal with them based on the number of spaces that we need. Tim, yep, did you want to add?
Yeah, I have completed the negotiation with the church as of end of last week. We have come to an agreement for 40 spaces in their back lot for a duration of 24 months at a cost. Again, we're not going to pave their lot. We're not going to do any work up there other than fill with some reclaimed asphalt, the depressions that are there and the wide openings for safety concerns. That will be included in the GMP and come within our GRs.
Okay.
Great.
Do we need anything else today on this, or can we get
Nope,
that
we
full
don't.
update at the next meeting?
It'll all be part of the GMP, so we won't need
Great.
anything in next week. Yep.
Thank you, Tim.
Yep. Just to keep the committee aware, we are in touch, ELL is with Patrick LaRoe to make sure we close these items out relative to our site plan approval. As I mentioned, there's just a couple of administrative tweaks that we need to make in addition relative to the approval that we've had from the tree warden. Just looking to revise his letter and addressing it to the correct person. So that's our planning and zoning update. I know we spoke about Gap Mountain, that hazmat scope of work and material testing. As I reported last time, we did have a meeting with Langen and Turner. We need a follow-up meeting to that. I think what we're looking at doing is obviously the additional testing. We need to be sensitive to the timing on when that happens relative to the overall project and the phasing in particular. So we're scheduling a follow-up call with Langen and with Turner and the balance of the team. As soon as we have some direction on what our strategy is, we'll keep you all posted about that.
Okay, and then I think
This has to go
Dan
out to
needs-
bid then, or no?
No, I don't think so. We have an existing contract with Langen who's already done testing, Todd. We will be doing some additional testing. It's just the extent and the timing of that is still to be determined.
Okay, and I know you're collaborating with GPS with Tom and with Dan on that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. All right, our state permit fee, we're working through with Ben Bernanke. I'm sorry, Harry, did you have a question?
Yeah, everybody, I'm sorry. I just realized that my next meeting's not until 10, so I don't need to drop off at 9. So
Okay, but we
sorry
still
about the pressure.
we still have because Todd needs to drop at 9, so we still have the issue.
Okay.
The state permit fee we're working through with Ben Bernanke just to work through, and we're starting to discuss with Turner the value of that kind of the permit. Again, we'll update the committee once we have an update. Our commissioning review status, as you all know, we've been working to try to get our deliverable from two items actually, both from Colliers relative to their commissioning, their deliverable for their work to date. We've pulled back on approving their invoice for their full value. And then Michael Horton likewise, as well as a third-party reviewer. We're looking for documentation from both vendors on their work product. So that's our projects team update, Claire, for this week.
Okay. Slam, anything to add?
Nope, just waiting to go. I think we have our team positioned and ready to go as soon as we get a date from the state.
Okay, and Turner, I think we covered the schedule. Anything else to add, Tim?
No, again, I've been reporting out with our professional team meetings, as we adjust. I've been projecting dates in the future for this approval from the state. So we clearly, as Peter had indicated, we have a schedule issue as we sit today without approval.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to the last agenda full item, which is the committee working group reports. So I'm going to ask Christina, we're going to do it back on our end. We have, please, everyone, we'll send out a note on these two things. The sign up status for the RTM reports. Everybody needs to take one every 3 months over the next few years. Lauren's doing the next one. That is going to be up for a report at the next meeting on 9/24. Please be prepared when the JLL is preparing the draft. Lauren's going to work it. She's going to share it with everybody. It's going to be a shared document. It's not a FOIA issue for you to give your comments. That needs to be voted at the next meeting. The other one that needs action is the OAC action team. We're going to send out the proposed OAC action team, which needs to be authorized by the committee to exist and have powers. Joe would like it to be read and comment and indicate your interest on the policy itself. Read it and comment. And also, we need people to indicate interest if they're thinking of serving on OAC. It can be a combination of voting and non-voting members. Is there any new business? Any new business? I would just again remind the professionals, if there is anything that needs action, since we're meeting every 2 weeks, we typically meet the day after our meeting to get the agenda going for the next bi-weekly meeting, but we absolutely lock it down by the Wednesday. So if you have anything that needs action for the next agenda, please, the sooner the better, send it to JLL and the officers so we can make sure it's ready for prime time. Tim?
Hey, Claire, I just, with Joe being away, will you be signing the approval letter that was just approved and getting that back over to us so we can start execution of agreements with the vendors?
Yes, so I am authorized to sign in the absence of the chair, and I can sign invoices too. So I guess is that coming through JLL to get me the paperwork?
Yes. Yeah, Claire, we'll get that over to you to get your signature.
And you literally know where I live now.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Thank you everybody for making this so crisp. I know people want to be going to 9/11 observances. I'm going to be turning my TV on, watching the roll being called. The next meeting will be held on September 24th at 8 a.m. Do we have oh, Tim, is that you again? Sorry. Is your hand?
Nope, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Cowie, second by Fisher. Okay. Cowie, Fisher, this meeting is adjourning at 9 a.m. Thank you everyone for making this so efficient. Appreciate
Great
it.
job. Great
Thank you
job.
all.
Claire.
Okay.
Bye, Al.
Bye-bye.
Bye.